If you could just say and spell your name real quick.
Sure, Irene, Irene, Pace, P like Peter, ACE.
Name is John, last name is Schrag.
Stephen Garnett.
The Chicago Reporter brought hard data and made it accessible.
This is what the Chicago Reporter did, and no one else did it. And no one else is still doing it. Not like this.
I was the author, with a lot of help, of the first murder analysis that the reporter did in 1975. And you know, this was an era before computers and cell phones and all the other devices that make life so easy now and research so easy now. And what that meant was going up to NU with punch cards. If you made even one character mistake, the whole thing was through.
Yeah, the first story I did was this is going to sound kind of prescient because it's still going on, but the first story I did was an examination of the lack of minority representation in sports team management in MLB, NFL, NBA. They were on the court and on the team, but they weren't in the management offices, which is still the same case, 45 years later.
I was asked to do an update of an incredible piece of investigation, which I just learned was started by Steph and finished up by Tom Bruin, that really documented huge disparity in spending of park district funds by neighborhood. I'm this 23-year-old kid who thinks he's in way over his head in this job, and I'm expecting to meet one person, and they usher me into their conference room, and it is lined with men in suits, lawyers. I think the president of the park district was there. I think someone on the board was there. Probably someone from the foundation was there. And I think one of their intents was to intimidate me. And if so, they succeeded because I was a little rattled. But somewhere during the interview, I realized, oh, they're scared. I actually have the power because I have the data.
They more or less cooked the books. You could sit down with them. Oh, come on in. Yeah, we'll show you the books. And we spent $3 million on swings and $4 million on archery lessons, but they wouldn't tell you where. And John McDermott suggested that I get in my car and just drive around to all the 566 parks and play lots.
The reporter was one of the only non-Black press that really talked about the issues of segregation. I didn't really become engaged with the reporter until I ran an organization called the Leadership Council for Metropolitan Open Communities, a fair housing organization started by Dr. King in 1966 when he came to Chicago.
The spirit of the reporter, what made it different than any newspaper, was that it came out of the civil rights movement. John McDermott was a white man who was involved in the civil rights movement and paid a price for trying to bring the Catholic Church into the civil rights movement.
Having that entity bringing truth to power as it related to housing segregation then, sadly, and now was strategically important because though it wasn't called that then, but the disinformation that was distributed around housing access in Chicago was deep. And the major media industry, if they didn't endorse it, they didn't attack it either.
Every news organization, particularly in the wake of George Floyd's murder, has made it a point to try and somehow cover news with a social justice angle or social justice sensitivity, and to try and cover issues of race and inequity within their own communities, which is what the Chicago Reporter did so brilliantly for so long.
The legacy of this place, the reporters, the people who got started on their careers there, the work that's been done by the Chicago Reporter over the past 5 decades. What is it, 80 awards, I think, and for investigative reporting, what people have gone on to do, including myself. I mean, I had no idea when I started that I was going to still be a journalist, half a century later.
We were just wedded to this is what the truth is. These are facts. And, today it's come full circle, I think, to the point where, sadly, that's unusual again.
It was crystal clear last night when the few of us from the 1970s decade looked over to see the 2010 decade and the potential and the energy and the excitement and the enthusiasm of this new crop of reporters who are going to carry the torch.
The history of Chicago is one that gives a reason for the need for it, both then and now, for a Chicago reporter journalism to stand on truth to power, to be willing to face the difficulty of what it means to call it what it is, rather than to settle for what you got.
For 50 years, the Chicago Reporter forced policymakers to make positive change. The Investigative Project on Race and Equity will continue that crucial mission. People will pay attention to what we produce. Watch this space for more.